The next training video that I'm going to do on RouteXL is a feature called transportation scheduling. So what this feature does is it will take all of the points that you give it as call points. It'll route it from the depot for each particular call point. So you might specify which depots has which call points. And then based on a particular cluster, which could be a grouping of points, it will then work out round-robin routes, multiple ones for each cluster and for each depot. So let's take an example of this to just illustrate it. So in this example here, I've created a cluster column which is based on volumes, which is between 50 and 100 cases or cubic meters or tons or whatever we decide this is for the points here. So for instance, these points are together and these points are together, etc., based on volume. I used a tool called AutoCluster for this, and I've got another video on that tool if you'd like to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this set of call points, and then we're just going to paste the depots. It can also work with a stop point. So in other words, it could route from the depot, go to various points, and then go and stop at this particular intermediate point before going back to the depot. In this case, I don't have stop points, so I'm going to leave this blank. And then the link you specify is the name in this case, linked to the closest depot. And the delay time, there is none at the depot. You could put in a column that has a delay time at the depot. Let's say it takes half an hour or something to reload. You could put another column in here with 30 minutes or so. In this case, I'm just going to leave it blank. And then there is a delay time called time per point. And you could also specify if there's an extra distance you want to do, or if there's a factor. Let's say that there's a truck that's really slow and this factor might be something like 4, you would basically put it in here. The call ID will be the outlet name and the load will be volume. Cluster column will be cluster because we're going to route these clusters separately. Shift time I'll put at 480. So there you go, those are the settings for this particular exercise, and it will now do a bunch of round-robin routes from each depot and cover all the points that's allocated to that depot within the shift time, multiple trucks per day with the time as well. What it doesn't do is it doesn't limit by volume like Quantitave Vehicle Routing does. It'll just add the volumes together. So you can't put this as a limiter, only add it together so that you've got a total for the whole solution. Alright, and now we can just say calculate. So we'll first calculate our routes. And there you go, there's the results, and it only took just over a minute to run, so it's really fast. When you look at your results, I'm just going to maximize this. You will see that this is depot 1. This is your cluster 0, and then in here you'll have your points that it's handling, and so on. Cluster 2, cluster 11, and so on. And if you needed to make any changes, you wouldn't necessarily have to redo the entire solution. You just make your changes and then just say schedule trips, and it will do adjustments in here. Here's depot 2. With their points and so on. And here's your different shifts as well. Now we can export this into a route layer and into a call points layer, and I'll show you now in Spatial Excel what it did. And there you go. I'm just going to turn off other layers. So basically this is my route layer. And if I go into properties, I can do this on, like, let's say for instance, cluster. And there you can see it's all colored by cluster. Let's try a different setting. Shift. And there it goes into the order of all my shifts. And if you wanted to see only, let's say, depot 1 strips, you could, for instance, just do a filter here. And there would only be depot 1 strips, and it would go in order. 480 minutes per trip, and you'd be able to pick up your volumes and your times and your distances, etc. I just wanted to show you one other example of how this can be used. I'm going to open another spreadsheet. Right, here's another example of how this would work. So in this case, it's a pickup, not a drop-off. And I've got call points and depots as well. And in this case, I do have stopover points. So I'm just going to show you how these look and what kind of results you can get from this as well. So in this case, when we open transportation scheduling, we can bring in our call points over here. And our depots over here, in this case, we've got a stop point as well. So there's like an intermediate point where dumping can occur. So this is for pickup. And the trucks can basically go to these intermediate points before going back to this depot. So in this case, we'll have a stop long and a stop latch. The link will be the depot name. Delay at the depot we don't have in this case, and there's no extra distance here. But on the call points, there is a delay, which is called extra time, and there's one called extra distance. And the link in this case is also depot, and the cluster column is cluster. The load here will be volume, and the call ID will be code. The factor in this case was 4 because the trucks are 4 times slower than normal vehicles, and optimized factor is time. The shift time is 480 minutes. And now if we ran this solution, it basically gives us the output like here. I'm just going to show you. There are the routes. And I will now end off this video and move on to the next tool of RouteXL.